First contact with an enemy you cannot see. June 14, 1967. Central Highlands, near Dak To, Republic of Vietnam. Dawn arrives without color. The jungle breathes before the men do. Moist air clings to skin and fabric as if it intends to stay. Sergeant First Class Daniel Massa, 1st Battalion, 503rd Infantry, stands ankle deep in wet leaf litter, M16 held low, finger straight, eyes moving but never resting. The canopy above him swallows the sky. No wind. No birds. Just the quiet pressure of green pressing in from every direction. You feel it before you understand it. The silence is wrong. Massa lifts his fist. The platoon freezes. 12 men stop mid-step, sweat dripping from helmets, webbing creaking and then going still. Somewhere behind them, a radio operator breathes too fast and tries to slow it. The jungle does not reward impatience. Massa knows this now. He learned it weeks ago, after the first patrol that came back shot 2 men and long on questions no one could answer. There is no gunfire. No movement. Yet every nerve insists they are being watched. Private First Class Luis Alvarez stares at a wall of vines 10 meters ahead. He has been staring at the same vines for nearly a minute. He cannot remember blinking. His training told him to look for shapes, shadows, unnatural lines. But everything here is shadow. Everything is shape. His mind fills the gaps anyway. Faces. Rifles. Eyes that blink when he does not. The platoon has been moving since before sunrise. Boots soaked. Socks ruined. Leeches already feeding. They have crossed no clear front line, past no sign that says enemy territory. The map calls this grid square contested. The men call it cursed. Massa signals forward again. Slow. One step at a time. No talking. No coughing. No swatting insects. Even pain is negotiated quietly. When a thorn bites into flesh, you accept it. When sweat blinds you, you let it burn. The jungle records everything. 2 weeks earlier, this platoon was confident. They were airborne infantry, well-trained, well-equipped. They believed discipline and firepower would solve most problems. Now, after nights filled with phantom noises and days without contact, confidence has turned into something brittle. The enemy refuses to appear. And when he does, it is never on terms that make sense. Alvarez remembers his first night patrol. The sound of footsteps that stopped when he stopped. The click that might have been bamboo, or a rifle safety, or nothing at all. He remembers lying in his fighting hole, staring into blackness so complete it felt physical, listening to his own heart hammer loud enough to give him away. Nobody fired. Nobody slept. The veterans call it the jungle getting inside your head. By mid-morning, the heat becomes oppressive. The air turns heavy, like breathing through cloth. Every man smells of mildew and fear and old sweat that never fully dries. The point man slows again. Massa kneels, scanning left, right, up. Always up. Snipers live above you here. So do booby traps, tripwires strung at throat height, grenades suspended in trees, waiting for a careless brush of fabric. A single snap echoes somewhere to the east. Not loud. Not close. Just enough. The platoon hits the dirt. Rifles come up. Muzzles track empty space. 10 seconds pass. Then 20. No follow-up. No contact report. No visible target. Just the knowledge that someone, somewhere, may have wanted them to hear that sound. This is how the war is fought here. Fear does not arrive in a rush. It accumulates. Each false alarm adds weight. Each unanswered question presses down. Men begin to doubt their senses. Did you hear that? Was that movement? Am I imagining it? The enemy understands this better than any manual ever could. Hours pass without engagement. That is worse. When gunfire finally erupts, it is sudden and overwhelming. A burst from the tree line. An explosion forward and to the right. Someone screams. Someone else returns fire at a shadow that vanishes instantly. Then it is over. The jungle swallows the sound as if it never happened. One man is down. Wounded, not killed. Shrapnel in the leg. He is shaking harder than the injury explains. Massa kneels beside him, shouting orders, hands steady, voice calm. He has learned that calm is contagious. Panic spreads faster than any bullet. As the medevac request goes out, the men wait again. Rifles up. Eyes wide. The enemy does not press the attack. He never needed to. By the time the helicopter arrives, the platoon is exhausted beyond reason. They have fought nothing tangible. Yet every man feels as if he has been fighting all day. This is only the beginning. Nights that never truly end. June 16, 1967. Fire base near Daktu. Same jungle. Different kind of fight. Night does not fall here. It closes in. By 1900 hours the perimeter is set, claymores wired, trip flares positioned along likely approaches. The men of Massa's platoon dig shallow fighting positions in soil that resist every shovel stroke. Roots twist like bone beneath the dirt. The jungle does not want to be disturbed, and it punishes effort with sweat and exhaustion. As darkness thickens, the sounds return. Insects whine in uneven rhythms. Frogs croak and then stop all at once. Something large moves beyond the wire, deliberate and unafraid. Every sound demands interpretation. Every pause feels intentional. Private Alvarez sits in his hole with his rifle across his knees, finger resting against the trigger guard. He tells himself the same thing again and again. Watch your sector. Breathe slow. Do not jump. He has not slept more than 2 hours at a stretch since arriving in country. When he closes his eyes, the jungle appears anyway, brighter and sharper than reality. Sergeant Massa makes his rounds, crouching low, whispering brief instructions. He checks claymore angles, confirms firing wires, taps shoulders gently to remind men they are not alone. He knows better than to ask if they are afraid. Fear is assumed. Control is what matters. At 21:40, a flare goes up on the eastern perimeter. White light floods the clearing, turning leaves into knives of shadow. Rifles snap to shoulders. Fingers tighten. No one fires. There is nothing there. 10 minutes later, another flare. Same result. The enemy is teaching them something. He is teaching them that sleep will not come easily. Sometime after midnight, the voices begin. At first it sounds like a child crying. High-pitched. Distant. Then it shifts, becoming laughter, then a woman's voice calling out in broken English. Come home. You are going to die here. Your friends are already dead. Alvarez feels his stomach drop. He looks to his left, then right. Other men are frozen, eyes wide, listening. He knows about this tactic. They were briefed. Loudspeakers. Recorded messages. Psychological operations. Knowing does not help. The voice knows his language. Knows how to find the cracks. A flare of anger burns through Massa when he hears it. Not because it frightens him, but because it works. He whispers orders to ignore it. Do not respond. Do not shout back. Do not fire. Reaction is the goal. Minutes stretch. The voices stop. Silence returns. Worse than before. Around 0300, gunfire erupts on the far side of the firebase. Not close enough to engage, just close enough to wake everyone. Tracers act briefly, then fade. Radio chatter crackles and dies. Again, no assault follows. By dawn, every man is wrecked. The jungle emerges from darkness looking unchanged, almost innocent. Steam rises from leaves as the sun hits the soaked earth. Birds return, cautiously at first. The perimeter holds. No casualties. On paper, the night was a success. Inside the men, something has shifted. Alvarez finds his hands shaking as he eats. He drops his spoon twice before giving up. A corporal jokes weakly about ghosts in the trees. Nobody laughs. Massa watches his platoon and notes the signs. Short tempers. Blank stares. Men flinching at routine noises. This is how erosion begins. Patrols resume. Same terrain. Same uncertainty. But now the men carry the night with them. Every rustle triggers a spike of adrenaline. Every shadow feels closer than it should. Time stretches oddly. Minutes drag, hours vanish. Memory blurs. Men forget when they last drank water, when they last slept, when the last real contact occurred. The enemy appears briefly on the third day. A quick ambush on a trail junction. 2 bursts of automatic fire. 1 grenade. Then nothing. They vanish as if absorbed by the trees. 1 American is killed. Another wounded. The survivors stand in the aftermath, staring at a blood-soaked patch of earth that tells them nothing about who attacked or where they went. There is no one to pursue. No clear target to punish. Just absence. That night, Alvarez cannot stop replaying the ambush in his head. He hears the shots again, sees the flash, feels the helpless delay before he could even aim. He wonders if he hesitated too long. He wonders if the enemy knows his face now. Massa sits alone for a moment after lights out, helmet off, rubbing dirt between his fingers. He thinks about the manuals back at Benin. About doctrine. About enemy contact and fire superiority. None of it accounts for this. For an opponent who wins by not being seen, by letting imagination do the killing. The jungle has learned their patterns. It knows when they move, when they stop, when they sleep. And slowly, methodically, it is teaching them that they are never truly safe. The weight of waiting and the fracturing mind. June 21, 1967. Hills west of Daktu. 5 days into continuous operations. The men stop measuring time in dates. They measure it in patrols completed and patrols still to come. In how many canteens are empty? In how many cigarettes remain crushed in shirt pockets? Waiting becomes the dominant action of the war. Waiting to move. Waiting to be shot at. Waiting for something to finally make sense. The platoon climbs a ridgeline before first light, boots slipping on mud and roots polished smooth by years of rain. The incline burns legs already hollowed out by fatigue. Nobody complains. Complaining costs breath, and breath is rationed. Above them, the jungle thickens again, branches knitting together until daylight fades into a green twilight. Private Alvarez feels the tension settle behind his eyes like a pressure headache. His rifle feels heavier every hour. He has checked his magazine so many times he can do it by touch alone, yet he keeps checking. He is not afraid of running out of ammunition. He is afraid of discovering he never loaded it properly in the first place. The point man freezes. Everyone drops. Minutes pass. Nothing happens. This is how it breaks you. Not the firefight. The anticipation of it. The body floods itself with adrenaline again and again, with no release. Muscles lock. Jaws clench. Teeth grind unconsciously. When nothing happens, the adrenaline has nowhere to go. It turns inward. By mid-morning, they reach a small clearing. Signs of a camp. Cold fire pit. Footprints deliberately obscured. Bamboo sharpened and set aside, unused. Evidence of presence without presence itself. The enemy was here. Recently. Close enough to smell. Massa orders a brief halt. Security out. Knees ache as men take positions. Eyes burn from constant scanning. Someone whispers that they feel dizzy. Another man snaps back too hard, too loud. Massa intervenes before it escalates. He understands now how quickly discipline frays when nerves are stripped bare. They never find the camp occupants. The patrol continues. Heat rises. The air becomes suffocating. Sweat pours into eyes, blurring vision. Leeches cling unnoticed until they swell and fall away, leaving blood trails that mix with grime. Nobody reacts anymore. Pain has become background noise. That afternoon, a man fires his weapon by accident. A branch snaps under his boot. He spins and squeezes the trigger in the same motion. A burst tears through foliage. The jungle explodes with sound for half a second, then returns to silence. Everyone freezes. No return fire. No movement. Just the echo of what almost happened. The soldier stands trembling, face pale, eyes wide with shame and terror. He keeps repeating that he thought he saw something. Massa takes the rifle gently, says nothing that would mark the man as weak. He knows it could have been any of them. The jungle makes liars of the senses. That night, they set a hasty perimeter on the slope. Visibility is poor. Field of fire overlap imperfectly. Every man knows it. Nobody says it out loud. Alvarez lies awake, staring upslope into darkness. He hears breathing that is not his own. He cannot tell if it belongs to the man 10 meters away or someone closer. He imagines fingers brushing tripwires. He imagines blades cutting throats silently. His heart races until his chest aches. Somewhere in the distance, a single shot cracks. Then another. Far away. Possibly unrelated. Possibly not. Sleep comes in fragments. Dreams bleed into waking moments. Alvarez dreams he is home, then realizes the jungle is still there and always was. He dreams of being unable to pull the trigger. He wakes with his finger caught tight, knuckles white. By the 6th day, men begin to withdraw inward. Conversation fades. Humor dies. Even anger takes effort. Faces become masked, expressions flattened by exhaustion. Eyes track constantly, but nothing truly registers. Massa requests extraction for a short reset. Higher command denies it. Operations continue. Intelligence suggests enemy movement nearby. Pressure must be maintained. Pressure. The word feels obscene. On the 7th day, the platoon walks into a prepared kill zone. Automatic fire erupts from 3 directions. Grenades detonate with concussive force, shredding leaves and flesh alike. The fight is violent, chaotic, and brief. Training finally has something tangible to engage. Men fire back, shout commands, drag wounded to cover. Then, as suddenly as it began, it ends. The enemy breaks contact, melting away once more. They leave behind nothing. No bodies. No equipment. Just casualties and confusion. When the smoke clears, 2 Americans are dead. One is missing. The missing man is never found. That night, nobody speaks his name. Saying it feels dangerous, as if the jungle might answer. Massa stares into the darkness long after orders are given and sentries posted. He realizes something with cold clarity. The enemy does not need to destroy them outright. He only needs to keep this going. Because eventually, the mind will surrender even if the body does not. When fear becomes routine. June 28, 1967. Same sector. Same jungle. Fewer men. Replacements arrive without ceremony. Young faces. Clean uniforms already stained by sweat within the hour. They listen carefully as Massa briefs them, nodding at the right moments, absorbing warnings they cannot yet truly understand. The veterans watch in silence. They remember how they looked not long ago. Fear has changed shape. It no longer spikes at every noise. It settles in, constant and dull, like an old injury. Men operate inside it now. Move, halt, listen, scan. The motions are automatic. The feeling never leaves. Private Alvarez has stopped jumping at sudden sounds. That worries him more than the jumping ever did. His reactions feel delayed, muffled. He catches himself staring too long at nothing. When Massa calls his name, it takes a second for the sound to register as language. The platoon conducts another sweep along a narrow valley. The ground funnels them. Steep slopes rise on both sides, thick with vegetation. Everyone knows it is a bad place to be. The map offers no alternative. No contact. Hours pass. The absence of contact feels deliberate, almost mocking. The enemy is choosing when violence happens. The Americans are only ever reacting. At midday, they find another abandoned position. Fresh cooking smells still linger. Someone has left behind a sandal made from tire rubber. A human detail. Evidence of a life lived just minutes ago. It unsettles the men more than any firefight. The enemy was close enough to hear their approach and simply stepped aside. That night, the psychological games escalate. Mortar rounds fall wide of the perimeter. Not enough to cause damage. Enough to wake everyone. Enough to force helmets on and hearts racing. Then silence. 10 minutes later, another round. Then nothing. Sleep becomes impossible. Alvarez starts hearing his name whispered when no one is near him. He does not tell anyone. He is not sure if it is real or not, and admitting uncertainty feels dangerous. He watches others and sees the same doubt reflected back. Men rubbing eyes raw. Men snapping over small mistakes. Men staring into space during brief rest. One private breaks down during a patrol halt. He sinks to his knees and refuses to move, shaking uncontrollably. He says he cannot feel his legs. He says they are already dead. Massa kneels beside him, speaks quietly, firmly, grounding him in the moment. Eventually, the man stands. He finishes the patrol. But something is gone. The jungle offers no relief. Rain begins without warning, hammering down in sheets that erase sound and sight. Weapons are wrapped, then unwrapped. Everything is wet. Everything smells of rot. The men march anyway, teeth clenched, eyes half closed against water and fatigue. Contact comes again, brief and brutal. A burst from uphill. A grenade rolls into the path and detonates. A man is wounded badly. Blood mixes with rain, washing away into the mud almost immediately. The enemy withdraws before artillery can be called. Afterward, no one talks about the fight. There is nothing new to say. The pattern is understood. Alvarez notices his hands are steady now when he reloads. He feels detached as he helps carry the wounded. The fear is still there, but it is distant, wrapped in cotton. Part of him is grateful for the numbness. Another part wonders what it is costing him. Massa writes a short report that night, crouched under poncho light. Enemy strength unknown. Enemy intent harassing. Friendly morale strained. He hesitates, then adds nothing more. There are no words that capture what is happening inside his men. On July 1st, the platoon is finally pulled back to the fire base for a brief stand-down. Showers. Hot food. Meal. The trappings of normalcy feel unreal. Men laugh too loudly or not at all. Some sleep for 12 hours straight. Others cannot sleep at all. Alvarez stands under running water and feels nothing. He watches dirt and blood swirl down the drain and waits for relief that does not come. 2 days later, they are sent back out. The jungle is unchanged. The war resumes as if the pause never happened. But something has shifted permanently. Fear is no longer an emergency response. It is part of the routine. A background condition. Something to be managed rather than defeated. And the longer it stays, the harder it is to remember who you were before it arrived. The enemy that comes home with you. July 18, 1967. Central Highlands. Monsoon season deepening. The rain has settled in permanently now. Days bleed together under grey skies and dripping leaves. Patrols continue, shorter and more cautious, as if everyone senses the limits approaching. The enemy remains mostly unseen, yet always present. By now, that presence feels almost personal. Private Alvarez no longer counts days. He counts heartbeats during halts, measures distance in how far his thoughts drift before snapping back to the jungle. He has stopped writing letters home. He does not know how to describe what this place has done to him without sounding broken. The platoon moves along a ridgeline when the shooting starts again. It is not a full ambush. just a reminder. 2 bursts from deep foliage. 1 man wounded in the shoulder. The response is automatic, disciplined. Fire returned. Smoke deployed. Casualty evacuated. The enemy vanishes, satisfied. Nobody chases. Back at the firebase, Alvarez sits alone after dark, rifle across his lap. He realizes something with quiet certainty. Even when the jungle is silent, even when the perimeter holds, his body does not believe it. His muscles stay tense. His hearing remains sharp to the point of pain. He is always waiting. Sergeant Mercer notices the same thing in himself. When a helicopter passes overhead, his heart jumps. When someone drops a crate, his hand moves toward a weapon that is not there. He understands now that this war has rewired them. The enemy did not just attack positions. He attacked patterns of thought. Orders come down a week later. The platoon is to rotate out of the sector. Another unit will take over operations near Dark 2. There is no sense of victory. No feeling of closure. Just movement. On the last patrol, there is no contact at all. The jungle watches them leave. The flight out is loud and disorienting. The helicopter lifts them above the canopy, revealing a vast green ocean stretching endlessly in every direction. From above, it looks peaceful. Almost beautiful. Alvarez presses his forehead against the metal frame and feels disconnected from the view, as if it belongs to another world entirely. At base camp, the routines change. Clean clothes. Structured schedules. Less jungle. More people. The mind should relax. It does not. At night, Alvarez wakes convinced he is back on the ridgeline. He reaches for a rifle that is not there. His heart races until he remembers where he is. Sometimes he does not remember right away. Mercer writes his after-action summaries, careful with language. Operationally successful. Enemy avoided decisive engagement. Friendly casualties moderate. The words feel hollow. None of them mention the men who stare too long at walls, or flinch at footsteps, or cannot sleep without lights on. Months later, some of them will leave Vietnam. They will board planes, step into airports, hear normal sounds again. But the war will not stay behind. For many, the jungle comes home quietly. It arrives in crowded rooms where every movement demands attention. In silence that feels threatening rather than calm. In moments of peace that never quite feel safe. The invisible enemy follows them, patient, unseen, unchanged. Vietnam was never just a physical battlefield. It was a sustained assault on the mind. A war of waiting, uncertainty, and controlled fear. The enemy understood that breaking morale did not require constant fighting. It required persistence. In the jungle, the most effective weapon was not a rifle or a bomb. It was the certainty that you were never truly alone.